Hello, and welcome here to today we're going to talk about sponsorships of NASCAR now. I think we should really address what the biggest sponsor in it all is. Sprint. Sprint's the biggest. There's this title. They sponsor the main series, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. So I think that's the key thing here. So, you see, sponsors are always big in NASCAR. We're going to take a look at what the Sprint Cup Series was. It's always been the Cup Series. But, previously the Winston Cup. Then, in 2004, it became the Nextel Cup. In 2008, it became the Sprint Cup after Sprint bought Nextel. Sprint signed the contract from Nextel signed the contract from 2004 to 2016 to be the main sponsor. In that time, in 2008, they were bought by Sprint, changing the name to Sprint of the series. So, in 2016, Sprint's contract is up. Will they be the main sponsor again? We don't know. But we're going to now take a look at the lower down series. If you can do good in this series, the NASCAR Nationwide Series, which is the second biggest sponsor, if you can do good in Nationwide, you move up to Sprint Cup. Next year, though, there will be no Nationwide, as Xfinity will become the second biggest sponsor. When I say biggest, I mean like the main sponsors. So Sprint, Nationwide, and this, the Camping World Truck Series. Those are the biggest sponsors. Now we're going to take a look at, well, cars. Makes sense. So we're going to look at the most iconic sponsors. Now before we get into that though, the main sponsors of NASCAR, we have Sprint, Nationwide, and Camping World. Next year, Sprint, Xfinity, and Camping World. Now Camping World Series started as the Craftsman Truck Series. Well, it started as the Truck Series. They got a sponsor for it, so they called it the Craftsman Truck Series. Then Craftsman ended their sponsorship and became Camping World. For the other series, Nationwide, it started as the Busch Series, Busch Beer. Then it became the Nationwide. It's coming Xfinity next year. But you won't see any Xfinity changes until what day is that? The first day of 2015 is when the contract begins. So everything will be Nationwide until then. Also, the other thing is Sprint. They started as the strictly stock series many years ago, 1971, which really started the modern era of NASCAR. The cars being built by teams. With that brought in the Winston Cup, 2004, like I said. Nextel, 2007, Sprint. We'll see what it is 2016. Either way, we want to look at the most iconic cars, most iconic sponsors. So, obviously, one of the most iconic ones is Richard Petty's number 43 STP car. You think of Richard Petty's car, most likely this year is the first one to pop in your mind. Or the big one with the wing, but when I think of Richard Petty, this is the first car I think of. Number 43 STP, looking just like that. And they still sponsors car today. Now, we cannot talk about iconic NASCAR cars without mentioning Dale Earnhardt. No way you can do that. Make it a bit bigger. There you go. The number 3 Good Wrench. All black Good Wrench car. This is probably the biggest NASCAR known car. If you know a NASCAR driver, it's most likely going to be Dale Earnhardt. Now, talking of drivers that are still racing that you're most likely going to know. Jeff Gordon's number 24 DuPont car. And this is the reason that I didn't pick his Drive to End Hunger. DuPont was his sponsor from his first ever NASCAR race up until 2011, maybe? And that's because DuPont became a Salka, so. DuPont and Pepsi are probably his biggest sponsors. Then Drive to End Hunger and Salka. And to get even a bit more modern, we take you to this car. Jimmy Johnson's number 48 Lowe's car. Now, Jimmy Johnson is the 3rd highest on the NASCAR champions list. Only behind Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty, both with 7. So he's got 6, so he's only 1 championship away from joining that elite group. And he's the only driver to ever win 5 championships in a row. In 2006 to 2010. And now it's sort of boring, just him winning. It's no better that he hasn't won in a couple weeks. He hasn't even led a lap in a couple months. So it's nice to see somebody else win, but really he is close to the most championships, but he's not as many wins. Okay. Either way. So what I was saying is he doesn't have as many wins as some other, but he has a good amount of championships. That's what puts him ahead of Jeff Gordon in that rank. So if you look in the sense of championships, Jimmy Johnson's better than Jeff Gordon. If you look overall as a driver, say Jeff Gordon's better, but if you look at also wins, that's key. Those are the most, probably some of the bigger ones, and important ones to mention. We can't forget an up-and-coming star. No, we can't, and also my favorite driver. The number 42 target car of Kyle Larson. You may not know it now, but at some point this year could be an iconic car. If he drives the way that if he drives all the time with the way he drives now, he's right there. In these past couple weeks, he has been. Since the chase started, if he was in the chase, that'd be amazing. Since he had one bad race. But since the chase has started, he has had so much good happening. 3 of the 4 races that have been done at the time of this video, he had 3 top 5s. So you're probably saying, well, those only 3 or 4. Yeah, the one that he didn't get the top 5 was 6th. So his worst in the chase is 6th. His best is 2nd. But now we're going to look at what I think is one of the coolest nationwide cars. Also driven by Kyle Larson. So you're like, this is just a video where you can show Kyle Larson cars. No, it's a video where I can show brilliant Kyle Larson cars. Now, being serious, we're looking at some good cars in general. Oh, you have to be kidding me. So if you enlarge one picture from a website enlarges the rest of the pictures from the website. And that's not so bad for some of these pictures, but the page that has text on it, it's annoying. Either way, so this year's Kyle Larson number 42. Cartwheel Chevrolet for Nationwide. And that's pretty cool. Either way, the thing with sponsorships is that sponsors are expensive. Okay. Very, very expensive. So they cost a lot of money. So what happens with the sponsors is that the company, so for this car, Target, pays in Nationwide Turner Scott Motorsports, and in Sprint Cup, Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates, money. And the car is divided up into chunks. So this here's a piece, you pay for there, you pay for there, you pay for there, you pay for the back. So all these little chunks are money. Parts. So this is the most expensive, second most, back's third most. You pay for little spots right there. You pay for this stuff. So you can pay just to be the hood sponsor, or you can pay to be the whole thing. As a company, obviously, you can't just say. And I guess if you wanted to, you just pay to have yourself in the car. But and the company sort of can decide what they want, so it's pretty cool. Oh my gosh. So different drivers can have different primary sponsors. So for Jeff Gordon, his primary sponsors are Drive to End Hunger. Okay. 22 races with that sponsor. So there's a lot of races with that. You had Exalta, Pepsi Max. So Exalta's the other big one. So for the 32 races, 22 are Drive to End Hunger. So Exalta's the other ones. Obviously Exalta isn't all of them because there's 22, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Okay, so that makes sense. So you have Drive to End Hunger does 22, Exalta does 2, 10. I mean, Pepsi Max does 2. Texas A&M Engineering did 1 sponsor, that was the Texas race. And you have Panasonic Toughbook, which does 2. So the different sponsors do a different amount of races. Or you have for Kyle Larson, Target and Clorox are his main sponsor. They always are on the car. But that's that. So if you want to see more interesting NASCAR things, watch the next video where we tell about this car. The iconic number 6 car returning in 2015. 2015 it returns. With 1 minor appearance with this car this week. So we're going to tell about that, preview that, and that should be fun.